All right, hello everyone. I'm Jack from the Playbook team, and I provide support to all of our corporate partners using Playbook. So if you need assistance getting started with the platform, please feel free to contact me or the rest of the team at playbook@pnptc.com if you would like a demo like this, or if you want to just sit down and have a bit of a Q&A. Always happy to have this discussion with you. But today I'm just going to record myself doing quite a general overview of Playbook so you can get an idea of what it is, how to use it, and where to get additional resources from, and so on. So yeah, let me start really from the beginning. Now, Playbook is a platform which has been designed by Plug and Play to assist all of our corporate partners with engaging with the different entities within our network. We have thousands of startups. At the time of recording, over 52,000 startups within our platform, as well as hundreds of corporate partners and VCs, all in this network engaging with each other. Now, Playbook is not a standalone service. It's an addition to the service which we provide at Plug and Play. And that service is really the human service of our vast network of venture analysts sourcing startups for you and presenting you with these startups through the platform, which is Playbook, just improving the efficiency of that service. So let's have a look at the platform. Now, I've just logged in as Charlie from a fake corporation called Playbook Corp, so that everything you see in front of me is exactly what you'll see when you get access to the platform. And if you do not yet have access, please let us know, and we'd love to get you on the platform as soon as possible. So this is the first page you see when you sign in. This is called the feed, and it's where you see news and updates regarding what's happening within the platform. So here you can see we've got a few things popping up. We've got 2 startups being added to my Discover, which is my startup database. We've also got someone posting a new event. We can go in there and have a look at this event, register, and actually sign up and attend on the day. We also have a new collection being created, one from our Motor Valley Accelerator. It's a batch collection, so it's startups going throughout one of our programs. Scrolling down here, we've got another collection, more startups, office hours, deal flows, news articles, the list goes on. This is where you can see really cool and interesting things happening within our network. All the important notifications you will receive at the top right-hand corner, as well as an email from Playbook. Now, you'll get one of these notifications when there's an upcoming deal flow session, or we've introduced you to a new startup and we'd like you to check out that information. Now, you will receive that notification from Playbook, but also we will be picking up the phone to actually discuss this with you, and you will always have that human element to your relationship with Plug and Play. There'll always be that human team working behind the scenes to assist you with finding the startups that you're interested in. So there are a few other things happening on this profile. We've got under Charlie's name, we've got his personal metrics, how many deal flows he's been involved in, and more. You can see an upcoming deal flow session, as well as recently updated collections. And I'll talk more about collections in a moment, but essentially it's just a list of startups, and these lists have been updated recently. Now I'm going to go to the menu at the top left-hand corner. I'm going to go down to the startup database. In here, you can see all of the startups which we have introduced you to. Now, as I mentioned earlier, at the time of recording, we've got over 52,000 startups, which is such a large number of startups, and probably the majority are not what you're looking for. They could be the wrong stage, they could be way too early, they could be way too late. It could be a technology that you're just not interested in or looking for. It could be that the startup is just so irrelevant that we don't want to waste your time having you look through these startup profiles. That's why we have a large network of venture analysts. We have at the moment about 165, I believe, within our company, specializing in finding startups from different industries with lots of experience and education in different technologies and so on, finding startups for our corporate partners. And we use Playbook to show you the information about these startups. We don't want to waste your time having you look at a profile of a startup we don't believe in, and it's not a fit for your company. We want to show you only the startups which we think you should be paying attention on, okay? So in here, you'll see all those startups, and this page will grow very quickly. So we've got a search bar in here. You can search for name, city, country, domain, or just a keyword or phrase. There's a drop down here, so you can look at recently created startups, recently updated startups, and more. We have the vertical drop down, so you can look at the different verticals and industries. And here, under tools, we have something called the advanced search, which a lot of our partners don't know about. So definitely go in and have a look at here. Have a look at this. You can, query the database with quite a complex search. So we can have a look at maybe startups in the United States. There we go, which are early. Let's have a look at pre-seed, relevant to a vertical such as what's very popular at the moment, cybersecurity. It's a very big topic. Let's search that. Okay, so we've got 4 startups popping up. Now, it could be, that your corporation is really interested in cybersecurity. Our ventures team will be looking for the best startups so that your database is filled with startups related to cybersecurity. If that's what you want, you just need to let us know, and we will ensure to make your database the #1 database for all the startups related to that technology or that vertical and more. Now, let's have a look at the first one here, Bresmo. Let's have a look at this profile to see what we can see. Now, we've got the name of the company, quick one-liner, which is a brief description. We've then got the full description. You can see they go into quite a lot of detail here. We've got some quick facts, including their website, location, the amount of money raised, the stage that they're currently at, when they were founded, how many employees that they have. And scrolling down here, you see that we actually require them to build on this information, and they add competitive advantages. They've listed their competitors. They've actually name dropped 3 other competitors, which is really quite interesting. We've got a case study in here, which goes into detail about how that software can be used. And we've got their investors and funding rounds listed here. Now, this information is actually kept up to date through an integration with another platform. That means that our startups, we don't rely on our startups to keep this information up to date. It's done automatically for them, keep making their lives easier and ensuring that our information is always the most up-to-date information out there. Right, scrolling down, you can see that we've even got some plug and play insights, which is something our partners tend to be really quite interested in. This one's a little bit short, but you can see we go into a bit of detail about why we like this startup and more. But when we do share a startup profile with you, we are here to answer all your questions. We'll sit down with the venture analyst who found that startup, have a long conversation in depth about their technology, why they were a good pick, and so on. But yeah, there's a pitch video also at the bottom here if you would prefer to read that. Well, watch that. And yeah, do remember that you can always export information from Playbook. So press these 3 dots here, export to PDF, and that way you can share this information with a stakeholder who might not have access to Playbook. Now, I'm just going to go down here and point out these 2 badges. You see here this purple badge with the white tick. This says verified by startup. When you see this, you know that someone from this company has registered on the platform. They have entered all this information and they have verified that it's correct. And actually, they lose this badge if they do not keep logging into Playbook to update this content. If they don't make an update, they actually lose this. So when you see this, you know that they are active on the platform. There's also a blue tick here that says that it's verified by Plug and Play. So you know that someone from our team has also gone in to verify that all this information is correct and accurate. Brilliant. So yeah, lots of information to see on Playbook, right? Let's go on. Let's have a look at collections now. So I've come to the collections page here, and you'll see that there are loads of startups available to you. Yes, I'd like to stay in the call. Didn't know it would do that, but let's continue. All right, let's have a look at the collections. So yeah, collections are in 2 different categories. We have private collections and we have public collections. A private collection is created for one specific corporate partner. And we normally create these when you ask us to go out and source for something. But we also, we create public collections which are accessible to all of our corporate partners. So there are many use cases in which we use this feature. It could be, for instance, that we are running a batch, and you can see that we've got lots of recently updated batch collections from the mobility vertical. We've got batch 432. I mean, all of them have just been updated recently to ensure that they're all absolutely up to date. But yeah, scrolling through here, you can have a look at those startups going through our accelerator programs, or you can have a look at other collections. We've got a portfolio collection here for all the startups that Sequoia is investing in. So if you're interested in those 264 startups, go in and have a look. You can have a look at all the startups that we're investing in Africa. You can have a look at the startups going through our health batch. I mean, there's so much to have a look at. Hydrogen Trends presentation, 240 startups at your fingertips. Go in there and discover new startups which you might be interested in. There's even security as a service. There's lots to see. Go in here, use this search bar, go to the filter, add some filters such as verticals and so on, and really find what you're looking for. This is the area to find new startups. Your startups database is where you see the startups which we have already introduced you to. All right, now let's have a look at this one here as just a quick example. This is a batch collection from our US health vertical. In here, you see the 12 startups which we are currently working with in our accelerator program. You can go through, read briefly what they do. If you're interested, just press on startup and it will load up the rest of their profile. Go through in depth. If it's a startup they're interested in, let us know, please. We'd love to introduce you to them. At the moment, there's no feature to actually request the introduction. However, that is on the roadmap, so you will see that in the near future. But yeah, just write down the name of the startup and let us know either in our next weekly call, bi-weekly call, or shoot us an email and we'll get that added for you. Well, that's added to an upcoming deal flow, that is. And again, export all this information if you would like. Now, there is also a collection type called a ballot, and a ballot is a collection where you can vote on the different startups within the list. You can, leave many different types of feedback, and you can even create your own collections with ballots. So go through and have a look at that. You might be interested in that feature. Now I'm going to go to menu at the top left, and I'm going to go down to meetings. This is so we use Playbook to schedule our deal flow sessions. They are those private pitch sessions where you sit down with a few startups and they pitch their technology to you. Now let's have a look at this one as an example. We use Playbook because it really just improves the efficiency of this whole process. You can imagine working with multiple companies, trying to get them all into the same call at the same time. It takes a lot of back and forth with email. Having everyone access this platform, see all the available time slots and everything just makes it such, it's a lifesaver, really. It saves us so much time here at Plug and Play so that we can run these deal flows for you, at a much faster pace. So this is the overview page. This is where you see all the information about the upcoming meeting, the when and where. Will it be virtual? Will it be in person? Which meeting room is it? What are we actually looking for? You have a look at the description, have a look at the internal notes, check out the verticals and focus areas assigned to it. This is how we just identify deal flows. What are we going to be doing and when? At the bottom, you can even see that we've got a pitch deck, which has been uploaded beforehand. So you can go in and have a look at one of the startups, which we'll be presenting. Most of the time, they do prefer to actually share the pitch deck after the session, that is. But yeah, let's have a quick look at the few of the statuses. So before we even have a deal flow added to Playbook, we sit down with you and the team. We discuss what you're interested in, what are your focus areas. We'll have someone from the ventures team in the call to really discuss this with you, to go into depth about really what sort of technology are you interested in? Are you looking to invest? Are you looking to acquire? They go into all this detail. We then take that information and we are the ones to create the deal flows on Playbook, the staff members, that is. That ventures team then go out, they look through that vast database. They also go out and actively source for each deal flow. So if there is a brand new startup that's popped up, they could have been in what's it called, stealth mode. You hear a lot about that nowadays. They might have just announced, and that team will then keep their ear to the ground, find out that startup's just popped up and add it to the deal flow so that you always see the best startups that are currently available out there. Now, if the startup is not already on the platform, we invite them, they go in, they create their profile, then we assign them to the deal flow. So then we have a list ready for you to have a look at. And that's what takes us to the review stage. We ask that you have a look at Playbook and you read these startup profiles so you know which startups we've selected for you. You will receive an automatic email from the platform, as well as we'll be picking up the phone to let you know that please go into that email and press the link, which will take you to this page here, the startups page. You'll see the startups which we've selected for you. You can see in this case, we've just selected some test startups for this demo. But go in, have a look at the profiles, have a look at the comments which we've added, and really get an idea of why we've selected them in the first place. You can have a look at their profiles just by selecting on them. But yeah, I'm going to press review mode, and this is going to take me to this brand new Kanban view. We've got a few different columns here. All the startups will be in pending to begin with. You'll then be able to drag and drop them into the different columns, identifying which startups you would like to meet with. Okay, a primary startup is one you would like to meet with, and we will ensure that there's time for it. A secondary startup is one you would like to meet with if there is time, and not applicable is a startup you do not wish to meet with. Simply drag them and drop into all these different columns, click complete, which will be a button available at the top right here. And that lets us know which ones you want to meet with. Okay, that is the stage where the startups are first told that a corporate partner is interested in meeting with them. Of course, they are cheering on the other end, saying, yes, lovely, let's meet with this corporate partner. We sit down with them, we help tailor their pitch so that they're not going to be talking about irrelevant subjects. We'll make sure it's really refined so that we can make the best use of your time. They will then pick the available time slots according to their own calendar. And yeah, everyone will receive that automatic invite from Playbook saying, brilliant, we've got a deal flow session on this date. Here's the agenda. Here are the startups presenting. This is the virtual link. Saves us all a lot of time, I'm sure. It then moves to ready. And then on the day, it'll move to deal flow. We will sit down, we'll listen to those startups. The pitches tend to take between 30 to 45 minutes, but we can adjust this depending on your needs. And you can start adding feedback to the platform. This tab will become unlocked at the top here, feedback. And you can start adding lots of content. You can add feedback for each startup profile. You can add how relevant was this startup. You can add information about how good the technology was. You have this free text box as well, where you can add, a few sentences or even a paragraph or even up to a book if you've got a lot to say. You add all that feedback in for each startup, and then you can actually leave feedback on how well Plug and Play actually ran the deal flow. So did they pick relevant startups? Did they provide the deal flow in a timely manner? Please leave us this feedback so that we can improve in the future if necessary. Now, that's the end of a deal flow, but it's not the end of your engagement with the startup. So that's when we move from this feature to one of the tracking features. This feature here is called the engagement tracker. Now, in here, you'll see all of the startups which we've introduced you to. They're actually added to this automatically each time you meet them through a deal flow, once we've shared a collection with you, or if there's been a direct introduction, which is a one-to-one relationship we can do at any time. Maybe you've met a startup at an event, or you've been working with a startup for some time now before your relationship with Plug and Play, and you want to track them all on Playbook. Just let us know. We'll create that introduction for you so that absolutely everything is in here for you. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see all the names of the startups. If you were to press on that, that would take you to the overview page. You can see all the updates that have taken place over time. You can go in, you can write a quick note so that everyone is aware of what's happening. Now, in addition to this, there's the interactions page. You can see all the previous deal flows, maybe the collections that they've been added to, a direct introduction, all the interactions you've had with this startup over time. Now, you can see there are many columns in this tracker, and I won't spend too long explaining all of them, just the most important ones. This here is a custom column, which I have added. You can tell that it's a custom column because it has a black header. So it's a column that I've gone in and added. It's a tag column. You can see we've got a few different tags, and this represents how multiple teams can work in the same tracker. We can then add this filter in to see, hey, we're interested in only seeing the startups working with the mobility team. There we go, all those startups. We can then save it as a view. So then we have these tabs along the top. So just as an example, let's have a look at the startups working with the IoT team. There we go. Those are all the startups working with IoT. We can easily use these filters to sort of find the startups that we're interested in working with. It could be that we've introduced you to 400, 600 startups. I mean, that you will be really quite surprised how many startups we've introduced to partners in the past. And this tracker is going to be just so full. So you really need to use these filters to make sure that you have all those beautiful views aligned at the top, so you can really quickly navigate between the startups relevant to different industries. So it might be that they're different focus areas and so on. Okay, now these two columns here are called funnel columns, and it's the best way to track your pilots and investments on the platform. The idea being that we can bring up this engagement tracker during our bi-weekly calls, and we can align with each other regarding your progress with the startup. So you'll see shared once we just share information about the company with you. But then once we actually introduce you to that startup, you'll then see introduction, but then we'll be able to keep each other up to date. When have we got to the internal assessment? Are we going to pilot? Then hopefully we'll be able to get to that status where we see production. That's when we're really happy. But you can see we've got statuses all between these different stages. Now, it's the same for the investments. You've got slightly different statuses, but the process is the same. You'll see shared once we share information about the company with you, introduction once there's a deal flow, and then we can track this together. Now, there's a few more columns in here. We've got feedback. This is coming directly from the deal flow, so it's not actually editable. But if you do want to add your own feedback column, you can do by adding a custom column, which you can then edit at any time. We've got who's working with who, when you met the startup. We've got some notes. You can go back and forth with everyone in the tracker, having almost a conversation, keeping each other up to date with how you got to that next stage in your relationship. This next column here has a purple header. That represents that it's a smart column. So it's a custom column which is linked to our Playbook database, which then keeps this information up to date for you, which is something so many other platforms just do not do. If you're using a spreadsheet, that becomes outdated quite quickly, let's be honest. If you're using even some CRM platforms, they can become outdated. If you're using Airtable, it just does not have this feature. If you go to add a column, go to smart column here. This is all the content that'll be kept up to date for you. We've got competitive advantages, case studies, their investors, the amount of money raised, the stage of the startup, their current website, all of that will be up to date for you. And I can't begin to explain how beneficial that must be for our partners. We have also text columns, tags, funnels, people, dates, and ratings. So there's endless possibilities to the way that you could customize this tracker for your needs. I mean, I've seen partners who have so many columns, it takes forever to scroll all the way to the right-hand side. But I've also seen partners which only use 2 or 3 columns. And, they're only interested in maybe tracking their investments and, maybe the amount of money raised so far, just as an example. But yeah, you can use this in many different ways. You could use this in unison with a platform which you might already be using. You might have a CRM platform which you paid for recently and it was really expensive and you would like to continue using it mainly for that reason. What you could do is you could just use this engagement tracker to export content, then to add to your CRM. That's no problem at all. It could even go the other way around. It could be that you want to import information from that current platform which you're using. We've assisted many corporate partners with migrating content to their engagement tracker. Now, one last thing before I move on from this feature, which is this feature has been designed with privacy in mind. You might notice that if you go to the menu and then to your engagement tracker, you might not be able to access it. The reason being is once we have the first training session with your team, we add someone to the engagement tracker as the manager. This person then has complete control over adding and removing everyone from the engagement from this tool so that all this potentially sensitive information is under your control. If someone unfortunately was to leave your team, you can quickly nip in here and just remove them straight away. Okay, if someone joins your team, you can add them without having to go through our support team. And there's different permission levels as well. You can add people as a viewer who can only access the information, a collaborator who can then edit the information, and a manager who, again, can then add and remove people. You even have the ability to remove plug and play from this tracker if you would like to. So yeah, lots to do in here. But bear in mind, the engagement tracker has been designed for ecosystem startups, the startup profiles which we have added to the platform, which the startups maintain. Now, last year, we actually allowed corporate partners to create private startups on the platform. So if you are sourcing your own startups, you can go to the top right-hand corner to create, and you can create a private startup profile. No one from that company is invited to join the platform. However, you can create and maintain a profile on their behalf so that you can manage all of your startups in one place. Now, if I go to menu at the top left-hand corner, I want to show you Smart Sheets next. A Smart Sheet, you'll notice, is very similar to an engagement tracker. It's almost identical. And that is because This is another tracking tool, but it's slightly different. In here, startups that you've met with are not automatically added. You will need to manually add them here by going to add a new startup, but you can add both ecosystem startups, the ones that we work with, and your private startups to the same board. You do unfortunately miss out on some of the benefits of the engagement tracker. For instance, some of the smart columns and so on do not work with private startups because there's no information to pull from, right? It's a private startup. The startup's not the ones updating it for us. Now, you can see that a lot of the columns look very similar, and we can actually add and remove columns to make it almost identical. Unfortunately, it's just these smart columns which will not work for private startups. However, if you do have a mix and match of private and ecosystem startups, the smart columns will work for the ecosystem ones. So do continue to use it if it is a bit of a mix and match. But yeah, you can create as many smart sheets as you like. Just go to the top here, create smart sheets. It might be that you want to create a smart sheet for each business unit. It could be that you want to create a smart sheet for each scouting endeavor, one for each type of technology and so on. And again, you have complete control over the sharing. It's the same as the last one. Now, you do even have an import feature in here, which is quite cool. So you can upload a CSV file, which you can generate from any spreadsheet. You simply upload that file, you map a few columns, and then you create a whole series of private startups all at once to prevent you from having to go one by one creating those profiles. Those startups then exist within your database, and you can track them on your tracker. But what's cool about this is that you have this option here. If the startup you are importing is already available in Playbook, would you like to use the information from Playbook or from your imported file? If you leave it as Playbook, you might notice that of the 60 startups that you're uploading, all of a sudden 50 of them have logos, they have much more information. That lets you know that this is a startup within our database that we have a relationship with. If you want, let us know, and we'll create a direct introduction for you so that they are introduced to you as an ecosystem startup. So they are the ones managing this content, ensuring that it's up to date for you. Whew, that was a mouthful. Okay, and there's so many features to show you. All right, I won't go into much more detail about the rest. Let me just point out a few that I think you might be interested in discovering. If you go to the menu here, have a look at our events feature, see which events we're hosting. Have a look at those public collections, absolutely, and check out these analytical pages. And under ecosystem, you can see where we're sourcing startups relevant to which vertical. You can have a look at some trends. In the engagement page, you can see how many startups you've been introduced to over time and more. The best way to learn how to use the Playbook is just by using it with your engagement of Plug and Play. So the next deal flow we run, we really encourage you to use Playbook for your deal flows. And yeah, go in and have a look at those public collections and those events. You will be, I'm sure you'll be overwhelmed with how beneficial Playbook can be for your company. Okay. Now, this is the current state of Playbook, but I'd actually like to take a moment to quickly discuss with you the future of the platform. So if I go here, you can see this is the roadmap for the rest of 2022 and the next year, 2023. Now, we've got 3 quarters here. In the 4th quarter of 2022, we are going to be we will be audited so that we can obtain the ISO 27001 certification. We're ready for it. We're just waiting for the auditors to come through and have a look at all of our software and more. You can see for the 1st quarter of 2023 in this top section here, we will be preparing for our SOC 2 Type 2 certification. The reason why we're not going to be applying for it straight away is that we are required to wait 6 months after being ISO certified to get that SOC 2 certification. Unfortunately, we would be going for both of them straight away, but we have to wait for that 6-month period to finish first. That is why we will become certified in the 2nd quarter of 2023. Okay, now underneath those security updates in the purple dotted area, you can see a few feature enhancements which will take place over time. Now, in the first bullet point here for the 4th quarter of 2022, we will be releasing the startup profile overhaul. Now, this is something that's been underway for quite a while. We will be enhancing the startup profile feature. We will be adding new features and functionalities to the startup profiles. For instance, that update I mentioned earlier, there'll be a little button where you can actually request an introduction directly from the startup profile, preventing you from having to take a note and mentioning it later. We will also be enriching the data within these profiles so that Playbook is your one-stop shop for all the information you need about that startup. Now, under there, you can see that we'll be identifying relevant content and user interests. So we're having conversations with our partners, we're running surveys, and we're finding out from you what you're interested in and how Playbook can best assist you with your day-to-day activities. If you are interested in giving us some feedback, please get in touch, okay? We would love to sit down and discuss with you, how we can help. And this brings me to the next bullet point here. We are redesigning our analytics and insights section, okay? We have such a wealth of data within our database that we could really be leveraging to produce the reports which you are interested in. But we don't know which reports they might be. We want to hear from you what reports you are looking for. We are speaking with corporate partners and we have lots of ideas. So we're currently producing and creating those at the moment, but we want to hear from you how we can help you build the reports that you're interested in. All right, so at the start of 2023, we're going to be revamping user profiles. So we're going to be improving the way that we track each individual user. We're going to be asking you questions about what you're interested in, what technologies are you looking for, and so on. And the reason why we'll be asking you this is because below here, the next bullet point, you'll see that we'll have a new homepage with a tailored feed. So each user will have their own view of the platform where we'll be promoting contents, based on what you're interested in. If you're looking at cybersecurity, for instance, you'll see more cybersecurity events. There'll be more promoted startups from the cybersecurity area and much more. So yeah, quite a cool improvement to come. Also, we'll be releasing a new events platform. So you'll be able to see all those public events, which here at Plug and Play, such as the Summit and the Expo, all those big events, which we love for our partners to come and get involved in. But also you'll see more private, smaller events, which are run within our ecosystem. So you'll be able to see all that within Playbook and register, and then on the day attend. Now, in the second quarter of 2023, we'll be releasing a new corporate analytics and insights module. This is essentially a bit of a KPI tracker to really show you how beneficial your relationship is with Plug and Play. There will also be an additional content feed. We'll be leveraging some new integrations so that your feed has more enriched content. One of these integrations will actually be with our website. So you'll see information coming from there. Again, just making Playbook your one-stop shop. That's our goal. We want Playbook to have all the information which you need when it comes to your sourcing and your innovation efforts. And this last bullet point here says that we'll completely revamp the user interface. Now, I mentioned earlier, I believe that that new deal flow feature has a new user interface. That's a version 3 interface, which we released last year. And you might have noticed it's got that beautiful, modern, sleek design. In the second quarter of 2023, all of Playbook will look like this. It will all have that nice, beautiful design, which our marketing team worked so hard to create. So big shout out to them. And a big shout out to the rest of the Playbook team. Thank you so much for all the work you do that makes this all possible. Now, I would really like to stress that we would love to hear from you. Please contact us at any time if you've got questions about Playbook or if you want to just give us some feedback. Our email address is playbook@pnptc.com. Please contact us. That's PNP. Oh, that's not that. It's playbook@pnptc.com. There's also a feature within here where you can actually go to the top right-hand corner and contact us. You can also use that as well. Please don't be a stranger. Let us know if we can help you. Let us know if there's a feature which you would like added. We want to hear your whole wish list so that we can provide it in the future.